Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome into Morning in the Valley. It is June the 30th. I'm Jeff Bidwell. Glad you are with us today. Coming up in about 10 minutes, we will talk with the radio voice of the Indiana State Sycamores. He is Joey O'Rourke, as we will talk about some house settlement stuff. He's gotten a chance to sit in and see some practice at Indiana State over the last week. So sort of get a summer vibe, there from Terre Haute. If you haven't done so already, please head over to YouTube, find us, and subscribe to the program there. Again, just search out Morning in the Valley. Will help us get out in front of some more eyeballs and continue to help this show grow as we are now. I mean, it is 4 months and 3 days from opening night on November the 3rd. We'll get into all that coming up in just a little bit. Today is the day that I guess from an administrative, fans probably could give two flips about today. But today is an important day for administrations, athletic administrations around the country, as today is the last day of the fiscal year, if you will, for colleges and athletic departments. That is the final day of the 2024-25 athletic calendar. Tomorrow it flips. Today is also the final day, if schools have not done so yet, to opt in to the House settlement, which the biggest piece of that from a well, frankly, a money standpoint, is an opportunity to share revenue with your players. I believe it was Friday afternoon, Drake was the latest school to publicly announce. I don't even know. I have intention there. I don't know that there is an intention anymore. It is done that they are opting in to the House settlement, which again will provide an opportunity to share money with their players. It also, there are some constraints with roster limits and so on. Some of those have been grandfathered in, though, which was really the Judge Claudia Wilkins. That was really her big issue before she sort of put her stamp on this settlement, and that those have gone through. So kids that have been, whether they were walk-ons or partial scholarship holders, they've been grandfathered in. And so over the years, until those kids cycle out and the roster limits are in place, we will see maybe some expanded rosters. But the most important thing today is the revenue sharing. So Drake, the Brian Harden, athletic director, put out a public letter to the athletic department, or to the fan base, last week from the athletic department. And basically, the main takeaways from it for me were they have now created a men's basketball excellence fund. They have created a women's basketball excellence fund, and that is where folks can donate to. And in the next breath, the Do Great Collective, the DU Great Collective, is essentially going dark. They want all money. He was very thankful for all the work the collective has done. We have seen some instances, as we've talked about Bradley and Illinois State, really refocusing their collective on, we need to use that collective and focus towards women's basketball, with sort of the read between the lines that the revenue share, that the vast majority of that is going to go to men's basketball. At Drake, they're saying, look, the revenue share, if you want to donate, we want to bring it all under our umbrella. We got the women's fund, we have the men's fund. The part that has held people back, I think, on some level, from donating to collectives, and this was really an issue from the beginning, was the donating to collectives was not tax deductible money. Now that it's going to an athletic department, it becomes tax deductible, and I think that's going to make some people, especially folks that are making big ticket donations, with commas in there, that's going to make them a little more at ease. But Drake bringing everything back under the umbrella. Again, today's the final day. There have been only about half the schools have sort of made public declarations at this point about what they are going to do. You have Drake, you have Evansville, SIU, Belmont, Murray State have all said, yes, we are there. Valpo has not said we are out. Everything they have done seems to show they are out. And the unclear schools are Bradley, Northern Iowa, Illinois State, and UIC. None of those, I will be shocked if any of those do not go in. Now, back on it was April, first week of April. We had, and there's been some confusion about this, that Indiana State Athletic Director Nathan Christensen was on a higher ed athletics podcast. And he said at the time, the plan as of April the 4th was there's too many questions about this situation with the House settlement. And at that point, the settlement had not been finalized yet. And he said, so the thought at the time was our feeling from Indiana State's perspective was we are going to opt out for 25-26, kind of see where the dust settles. And then we will see looking ahead to 26-27. Our man, Joey O'Rourke, who will be with us here in just a second, the radio voice for Indiana State on his daily radio show up there in Terre Haute, he had the head coach of Indiana State, Matthew Graves, on last week. And Coach Graves said in so many words, well, because we've opted into the House settlement, we've got this, that, and the other. So something has changed up there. Apparently enough dust has settled in the last 3 months that Indiana State is now in as well. So just looking at it, it appears, and again, I'm going to 100% believe Bradley and Northern Iowa and Illinois State and UIC are in. Valpo appears to be the only one that is opting out of this. And again, a lot of that and the hesitancy from some schools is just about the roster limits, especially when they have football, when you have kids walking on, and I think the limit's 85, and you have some of these programs that have 100 some odd kids that are, paying their own way to come to school. And that is more of an administrative, like you're dinging our enrollment, and that is an issue. And that is why a big reason why some folks have opted out. But that is, I think today, with today being the last day, those schools we haven't heard from, the Bradleys, Northern Iowas, Illinois States, UICs, I would expect to hear something from a forward-facing standpoint to say, yes, we're in, no, we're not. But I will be shocked if any of those schools ultimately make the decision to not go in. Joey O'Rourke will be with us in just a minute. We'll get him on as soon as he reappears at his location. Today, we've got some scheduling news to pass along. Again, the season begins Monday night, November the 3rd, and UIC will be hosting Detroit Mercy up there at the Credit Union One Arena on opening night in Chicago. And right now, this is all for me. When we're just taking a look at it, it's all about the net. We're trying to work towards a multi-bid league. Is this going to be advantageous for that? Detroit Mercy last year, a Ken Palm 337, a net 329. This year, the Bart Torvik projection 291. That's a school you want to get to come into your building, and it's a school you want to come and get in your building and hopefully beat them by a bundle. So that is a good start there to UIC schedule. They'll open it up on November the 3rd. All right, our man is with us. He is the voice of the Indiana State Sycamores, and he is Joey O'Rourke with us today. Joey, how we doing, buddy?
Oh, doing good. How we doing, Jeff?
Awesome. Glad you're with us. We were just sort of nitpicking some always exciting, and hopefully maybe today's the last day we can talk about it, house settlement stuff, with the today being the deadline that everybody has to declare. I was misinformed might be the best way, or maybe belatedly informed, that I said back on April 13th, your athletic director, Nathan Christensen, was on a podcast, the Higher Ed Athletics podcast, talking about the House settlement. At that time, it was not, it had not been finalized. And he said, our feeling right now is we are going to opt out because we need to see how this is all going to settle and so on. You had Coach Graves on with you last week, and he kind of like slid it in the side of the conversation that, we're opting in. To your knowledge, what changed here in the last 10 weeks other than just maybe we've got some more information and this is the best way to go?
Yeah, I think obviously as the dust has settled with the House settlement and everybody sees what's going forward with how this is all going to navigate, and again, it all could change. No, I don't think anything's necessarily set in stone. As we've come to know college athletics, it can change on it can change on dime. I mean, it's one of those things. But I think that if you're going to compete and you're going to, stay at or the level that you think you need to stay at to compete in the Valley, and with like Murray State, with these other schools that are opting in, I think it's something you have to do. I think it's a competition play, and it allows the schools to be more competitive. I think point blank, and I don't know the Murray State situation when it comes to NIL. But NIL resources in a place in the Wabash Valley, you're probably going to get to a point where it's like we've done everything we can. How much more can we really bring in? I think the revenue sharing is another avenue to where you can maybe say, all right, this gives us a little bit more money to be able to pay this guy a little bit more. And Matthew Graves is very, his staff, they do their due diligence, they do their work. And I mean, obviously you're running this thing like a business now. And it's one of those things that you've got a certain budget that you can play within. And you're trying to fill out a roster now that there are quote unquote no walk-ons anymore. And you got the roster at 14 or 15 now. How do you get everybody a little bit of something and keep everybody happy? But I think basically it was, if we want to stay relevant, we want to compete in the Missouri Valley Conference, we need to opt into this.
The one point that Nathan Christensen, your AD, made on that podcast, which I get, I appreciated his sort of pause on everything, that we're not just running toward the light with this revenue share, was that Indiana State had, in terms of roster limits, Indiana State was over the roster limit by more than anybody else in the conference, that 54 student athletes north of it. And he's like, I don't want to come in and just whack 54 kids. And so I appreciated that. And that, again, this conversation was from April, before the thing was finalized, when the Judge Wilkins said that everybody could be grandfathered in. And so I have to imagine that sort of gave him some more peace of, okay, I may not want to do this on the front end, but if we're going to compete, to your point, we got to go.
Yeah, and I think you saw with Illinois. I mean, they're a Big Ten school, and I mean, you've heard of the other schools. I mean, I think Washington, acts maybe their field part of their track program. I just was listening to a thing where Michigan says they're going to have a shortfall by about $20 million. It's kind of a crazy spot that we're in. But like Illinois said, we're not cutting anything. We're going to actually take part of that money of the $20.5 million settlement, or the salary cap, whatever, that is, and they're going to reinvest more money into scholarships for those programs. And while they can still facilitate third-party NIL deals and all that. And that's one thing that Nathan Christensen's so good about. I mean, he, like I said, due diligence, I've used that word already. Use it again. He's a smart guy, and he really is not going to make a decision without knowing every single aspect of what's going on. That's why he's such a great leader at Indiana State University. And again, I think I don't think anybody wanted anybody to lose their opportunity or have the ability, if they want to go compete at the highest of the high. Nobody wants to cut that. Nobody wants to be that first person that makes that decision. And again, I think it's all, as this dust settles and things become more clear, I think there's a path to where these programs can stay and it is maybe sustainable. And what it might require. And again, this is where I go back to, what can we do with NIL? How can we maximize it? How we maximize what we've done? Well, you probably have to go and find some other guys, maybe some alumni that have, played in those programs, and be like, hey, listen, in order for us to keep this, we don't want this to go. Because I mean, I don't know how familiar you're with Indiana State, Jeff, as far as programs that have been cut in the past. Indiana State had a elite gymnastics program, and it got cut. Wrestling got cut, and those were way backs. And those are still things that people remember today. And there are still, some, hard feelings on that. And so I think it's just, we're going to require, hey, if we want this program to stay, we are going to, have to come up with different ways of finding ways to fund these programs. And it might be, going to more alumni, and, it might be $100 at a time. It might be $1,000 at a time, whatever. But you're just going to have to get, creative with how you do it.
Well, in terms of that creativity, listening to you guys the other day, and it's like, look, he's still, Mr. Christensen, very happy with the collective. You're still trying to raise money through that.
Yeah.
We're not just leaning totally on the revenue share, but you guys are having a miniature golf event at the Hallman Center here in a
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the one great part about, since Indiana State kind of went with a new group to do this collective and this marketing campaign. I really feel like everybody has been much more on the same page and, and heading in one direction. And, it's how do you, we a couple weeks ago, actually it's probably been more about like a month or, a month and a half ago, we had what was called a bourbon and cigar night. And it was a great, great event. Now that was obviously for, folks 21 and older. Well, this is a way to get families out there. This is a way to invite the Wabash Valley out there, have a kid-friendly event, and really get these people involved. They get to come meet the teams. They get to, interact with everybody while, have a little fun playing miniature golf going around the Holman Center. Again, ways to get creative. It's been an awesome thing to see with the direction that the Crossroads of Champions collective is going.
You got a chance to hop into the Holman Center, see some practice last week. What was, I guess, everybody's 0-0 at the end of June, and everybody's optimistic and feeling good. But what was your impression that you took out of there?
I really like this team. I like what I've seen. Now, they don't have their full squad yet. I think they still got a couple guys that they have not announced that will probably be joining the program coming up. Bruno Alton, he's playing with his Spanish national team, so he's taking care of those obligations, so he's not there. Hunter Harding, Marcus Harding's brother, who's a transfer from Central Michigan. I think he just got on campus late last week. Now, I'm sure Murray State does the same thing. Players are off this week to go home for the 4th of July holiday, and then they'll come back and they'll be raring to go on Monday. But one thing I took away from this team is, man, I think this team's really going to shoot the ball well. Like, this team, I've seen some really good things out of the shooting aspect of this things, and I really like where this team's IQ is. I love this team's basketball acumen. They're all good kids. Like, I mean, everyone I've talked to, all great kids, very respectful. And I think that what you got in a kid like Ian Scott, who's a transfer from the NAIA ranks, who's the runner-up player of the year. He's obviously the player of the year in their conference, but he's a winner. Like, he has won, and winning's not easy. And I think he brings a winning mindset, and I think he brings a good leadership aspect to this team, and I'm excited to see that.
You mentioned the one of the new additions, and that is the brother of Marcus Harding. Hunter Harding has rolled in from another Central Michigan transfer, and listening to your conversation with Coach Graves last week, there was a little bit of a concern about depth on the interior. If something happens with Marcus and Hunter Vorst,
Derek
Vorst,
yeah,
who grew up 5 minutes from my hometown, and I should know that because I wanted to be the old man when I saw him and be like, "Hey, I grew up near you," and he would be like, "Okay, old man, you're good." But Hunter Harding coming in, good Lord, that is just that is some more size that. You can't teach 7 feet, and
No.
Marcus Harding is as big of a dude walking in the gym as anybody, and he's little brother seemingly here.
He is, and I mean, you can't teach size, and man, we need as much size as we can to keep up with those racers down there in Murray. I mean, you want to talk about a team that's got a lot of size. I think that bringing in Hunter is a really good job by this staff to build the depth, because unfortunately for Derek hasn't been able to stay healthy for a full year now. I knock on wood, he has had a great summer. He hasn't had a full summer yet to really get into the aspects of everything. So it's really exciting to see him healthy and going through things. And then obviously Marcus last year. Marcus got hurt. He had a concussion and he was out a couple of games. And so, and then Derek was also, banged up at times. And so we had to play small with Jaden Daughtry as the 5-man. And, that always wasn't great because, he was 6'7", 6'8" at the, at most. So it's good to have some size depth. And obviously I think Hunter was banged up last year, didn't play a whole lot, but excited to see what he brings and once he really fully gets going with this team when they get back next week.
When we would have our sort of informal pregame conversations about, hey, how things going there, how things going here, there seemed to be, me reading the room, some frustration last year when things didn't go great after New Year's about maybe when sort of the personality of the team that maybe when things go a little sideways, they're not sort of bowing their neck and let's fight our way out of this. And listening to your conversation with Coach Graves last week, it just feels like this is, again, 0-0. Nobody's upset about playing time right now, but at the end of June, there is a competitiveness and a fight maybe to this team that sounds like maybe wasn't necessarily there last year.
Yeah, and it's been a breath of fresh air. Let's just say that. Just watching this team and how they compete. I mean, they compete hard, and everybody wants to win. And obviously, last year's team, it's not that they didn't want to win. Obviously, they did, but down in Murray, that was a game where we led, and we led in the second half, and I think we might have led by 8 to 10 points at one time, and it just seemed like last year with that team, if one thing went bad, it just kind of had a snowball effect, and it was hard to, get it recorrected and get it back on course. Because there were several games last year where, 14 and 18, 8 and 12. I mean, honestly, when I think about it, those could be reversed. Those could be flip-flopped just as easily, 18, 14, 12 and 8. And, hopefully it's, one of those things that the coaching staff, they go through scout, they do a great job. They put the kids in the right position. And, I know it can be frustrating at times when you're trying to, get these kids across the finish line. But unfortunately, something comes up and doesn't allow that to happen.
The last thing for you is just in terms of Matthew Graves and listening to your conversation with him. And we've had him here on the show last month. And is he as awesome to be around as it appears? I mean, it just feels like there's nothing. It's not an act. He's not trying to sell you a car or anything. It was just like, in the hierarchy of let's rank the Missouri Valley coaches that I just want to sit and have a beer with and talk shop. Man, he's near the tippy top of that list.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of great coaches in this league, no doubt about it. But I would say Matthew Graves, by my personal experience, is the most pure. Like, he is pure to who he is. He's not trying to sell you a used car. He's not a snake oil salesman. That's not who he is. He is as pure comes, and he is great to be around and to talk basketball and to, and I've got family history with him. My uncle coaching in the Indiana high school basketball ranks. My cousin played at Butler. Matthew being at Butler. There's a lot that we talked about, and the guys that my uncle sent to Butler to play. It's just so much fun, and he's a great guy to have a beer with. Let me tell you that right now. It's Springfield, Missouri. After we beat Missouri State in our conference opener, we were both flying to go to a different destination, and so we both stayed back, and we had a beer at the hotel bar, and it was fantastic. He is a pure dude. His coaching staff's pure. I mean, his coaching staff's as good as it gets. And I mean, you can be around some guys who are like, yeah, I don't know what their angle is. Well, there's no angle with Matthew Graves. He is a straight shooter, and and the best part about him is like pregame, postgame interviews. Like, if we say 9 o'clock, he's going to be there at 8:55, or he'll be there right at 9 o'clock, and it's let's go. There's no waiting around, no hanging around. It's like, hey, I wonder if he's going to show up. He is there because he is just such a great dude, and we're lucky to have him as a head basketball coach at Indiana State University.
He is the radio voice at Indiana State University for the Sycamore men. Joey O'Rourke, thanks for the time as always, my man. Enjoy the 4th, and we'll catch up soon.
Hey, Jeff, it was great listening to you in Omaha. I know that's a once-in-a-lifetime experience, hopefully more than once-in-a-lifetime experience, but it's a bucket list. Let's just say that. That's a dream there. It was great listening to you guys, and just to hear how elated you guys were. Congratulations to everybody down there at Murray State representing the Valley well. And, again, that's what makes this conference so great. Everybody roots for everybody, except for when we're playing each other, obviously, tonight.
Of course. Thank you, Joey. Have a good week.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
There's Joey O'Rourke. Yeah, the thing about Omaha, and as I've told some people about this, if you have ever been to Vegas, if you go to Vegas with your boys or your girls, and you go and it's a friend trip, that Vegas is here. If you go with your spouse, you do that Vegas, and it's an entirely different it's an entirely different trip. It's an entirely different city. There's entirely different things to do. And that was sort of my takeaway from going to Omaha as a broadcaster and as a media member. It was awesome. And it was like all this stuff, first class, as we talk, just a first class event, the way everything was run. You were in this lane, but you're like, boy, I would love to go back with the boys and just have fun, just sit in the outfield and just watch baseball for a couple of days and enjoy it. It'd just be an entirely different trip, and go over to Rocco's for the Jello shot competition and try to make a dent in that, all that stuff. It was great. And again, cannot encourage enough, if you have any love of baseball, and especially college baseball, to someday, if you haven't done so yet, get to Omaha and get to the College World Series. All right, other news and notes from this morning. We talked about UIC hosting the season opener against Detroit Mercy on November the 3rd. Rocco Miller, also, who is in the middle of all this scheduling stuff. You'll see him post stuff all the time. Illinois State is on the board with another non-conference game. They will host Chicago State coming up on December the 6th. Again, we talk about, you want to play the top teams, you want to play the bottom teams. Chicago State certainly there. 364 teams in Division I last year. They were 358 in the net, 362 in KenPom. Bart Torvik this year, 323 in terms of the projection. So, your fingers crossed. Again, bottom 50 team but you need to be able to take care of business against that team when they come in. Southern Illinois has got a couple more games on the books. They now have a home and home series scheduled with Kansas City that will begin Friday, November 7th, the opening week of the season. Kansas City last year, 241 in the net, 238 in the KenPom. So those are kind of, I don't know. Those are kind of get into the elevated. Maybe they're a little bit too good to really help you in any way, but not good enough to help you. Bart Torvik's projections has them at 311 this year. So maybe they will take a step back. I'm a little surprised. And again, without talking to anybody at SIU, just from the outside, I don't know if there's relationships here or what. I'm a little surprised it's a home and home. Kind of would imagine that this would be a bye game for the Salukis, but they're going to return the trip to Kansas City. May very well be. I feel like they have some kids on the roster from Missouri. So sometimes it's that, you're trying to go basically play a home game for some of the guys on your roster. You go to Kansas City, you're able to maybe do some recruiting. There's always 1,000 reasons why decisions get made that us on the outside generally don't know 999 of those. So we will just let that be. But the Salukis opening a home and home at home with Kansas City on November the 7th. Year two of I guess this is really a 2-for-1 with High Point will be on December the 3rd for the Salukis. They will return, lost at home to High Point last year, who of course went to the NCAA tournament. This year they will go to High Point to play. Next year will be the third year of that deal in Carbondale. High Point was, 82 in the net and KenPom last year, 109 in the projections this year. So this looks like a very good game, and especially on the road, this has a chance to help the metrics if the Salukis can go over there and get a win. All right, we've got some former player news to go over this morning, as former Saluki Xavier Johnson, former first team All-Missouri Valley Conference player, is over to France now, as he is signed with Orleans Loire. At least that's what Google told me how to say it. Or it's just Orleans Lorette for my old Midwestern self. Orleans Loire. Orleans Loire. Over there, it's the top league there in France. This year, he played in the second tier league in Spain, averaged 11 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. So Xavier getting another chance to run it back there on the professional side overseas. Domestically, we have seen some guys now that the draft is over, all the free agent stuff is happening. And we have Jonathan Pierre, the former Belmont Bruins standout, former Memphis Tiger, as well, played last year, first team All-Missouri Valley Conference. He has signed a Exhibit 10 deal with the Washington Wizards. I will allow you to do the Googling and get the full details on what an Exhibit 10 deal is. But the basic boiled down situation, it is a 1-year minimum salary deal that is not guaranteed, that he has now signed with the Wizards, allows players to come in for training camp, potentially go to the G League. So it gets him into the Wizard system, and we'll see how he does. And if he, shows that the Wizards, that he's somebody they want to, invest a little time and money in, and, hopefully again, spend some time there in the G League. First team in the Valley last year, 14.6 rebounds, 3.5 assists, shot 37%. It was just a dynamic wing for Belmont. It was just a real matchup problem for opponents. So we'll see how Jonathan does with the Wizards. Former Northern Iowa standout, another first team All Valley guy, Titan Anderson, has signed a summer league deal with the New Orleans Pelicans. That will, the summer league there for the Pelicans out in Vegas starts on July the 10th. So 10 days from today, next Thursday, Titan will get rolling out there. But this is, again, go in, you try to make a splash. The summer league is hard because it is there is a definite look. Winning and losing doesn't matter, but it's going to always depend on, do the draft picks go? Sometimes the draft picks don't go. Sometimes they're hurt. Sometimes the team's like, we don't need to let them play. But there's always a definite sort of pecking order of who is it important enough to try to get some run with. So hopefully he will have a jersey. He will be on the bench, and hopefully he will be able to get some run and be able to showcase his skills there with the Pelicans. And hopefully that will, maybe get him to training camp, get him onto a G League team. If not with the Pelicans, he can showcase himself enough that somebody else will be able to take a shot on him. But obviously, as we talked about ad nauseum, just a force of nature on the floor is Titan Anderson, and we'll see where his basketball journey takes him. A name from the past by the name of DJ Burns, who played 2 years at Murray State, just 1 year, though, in the Missouri Valley Conference, the first year of the Steve Prohm era at Murray State in 2022-23. Left Murray after 1 year, went on to Youngstown State, finished his career there, averaged a double-double, I think 13 and 11 in his one season at Youngstown, played over professionally in Israel this past season. Well, he is back and this summer, and he's going to be playing in the $1 million winner-take-all TBT this summer with the University of Kentucky alumni team, La Familia. They will begin play on July the 18th at Memorial Coliseum. They will host that regional. So at first blush, and again, for us folks in West Kentucky, it has always been just kind of one of those things where Murray State and the University of Kentucky have never played one another. Kentucky has played every single program in the state: Division I, Division II, NAIA, junior college, high school. They have played everybody. For whatever reason, have never played Murray State. And so at first blush, I was like, oh, well, look at this. We get a meeting of the two here in the old TBT. The connection there is that the La Familia team, and there are some heavy hitters on that team, really from John Calipari's best teams in the 13, 14, 15 range: Willie Cauley-Stein, Andrew Harrison, DeAndre Liggins. I mean, some names that, if you're familiar with Kentucky basketball from 10 years ago, those were some of the best dudes they had. And I was like, well, how did DJ get involved with this? Well, the man that is coaching the La Familia squad is Sean Woods, who was part of course, that famous Kentucky team, the Unforgettables, back in 1992 when they lost to Duke on the Christian Laettner shot and so on. He was the head coach at Southern University when DJ spent a couple years down there at Southern. And so that connection happened, and DJ is now playing. So he'll get his chance. How much he plays, we will see, but he will get his shot to be a part of that team that's going to winner take all. Again, $1 million there. And it'll start July 18th over in Lexington. All right. And one final piece of news this morning, just a walk on. Again, we talked about the house settlement and adding players on. And again, it appears Valpo is not opting in. Until we hear anything differently, I am going to just presume they are not opting in, but they have added a walk-on, which you can do without opting in. You don't have those roster limits. They've already got a couple walk-ons. They've added a third now, Camden Webster, who went to a Bosco Institute prep school just 30 minutes away from Valpo. He's a local kid, and he's going to be able to come in and play for Roger Powell there and the Beacons of Valparaiso. All right, that does it for this morning's Monday edition of the Morning in the Valley. Glad you have been with us today. If you have not done so, please help us out. It will do it. I cannot get down on my knees here to beg and plead and all of that stuff, but it will help us immensely if you head on over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel there, Morning in the Valley. We've got full shows, we've got interview clips, and you can click on the little notification bell. So when we go live, you will be notified. Again, we're here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday during the off season, but that will pick up soon, and we will have some more random times during the day when we're able to go live, and want you to be able to be here with us when that happens. So YouTube, Morning in the Valley, subscribe, share, comment, like, and bless you. That'll do it for today. Wednesday, we will talk with the Missouri Valley insider, Harry Schrader. He'll join us. We won't be here on Friday. It's July 4th, and I hope you have anything in the world better than to sit here and listen to me. So we will be off Friday, but we will be here on Wednesday, 9 a.m. with Harry Schrader. Hope to see you then. Until then, enjoy your Monday, everybody. Have a great week, and thanks for watching Morning in the Valley.